We've got a number of league winning players poised to bounce back in 2025, help you win your championship. And a lot of these guys are going to be banged up from last year. Some of these players are going to be in new offenses with new coaches. We've got a lot to discuss, and we're going to start with how about them Cowboys and Dak Prescott. This one's easy, Sigmund, because we've seen it before, but we need to see Dak Prescott healthy. And if Prescott is healthy with new weapons around him, yeah, he's going to produce. Yeah, he's going to bounce back. And yes, Dak Prescott could be one of the keys to winning your championship.
We've already seen two breakouts for Dak Prescott, right? Remember the year that the first 4 games he was magnificent and then busted up his ankle. And then a few years back, he was a high volume passer, very productive, very consistent for fantasy football. And going into last year, he was quarterback 7, 8, 9. A fine answer, not going to be elite necessarily, depending on your scoring system. If it's a pass heavy scoring system, there's some potential there. And then last year, he wasn't very good. Really, the Cowboys offense wasn't very good. And then he got hurt with a hamstring. But this year you have Brian Schottenheimer, and see, what does Brian Schottenheimer really stand for? Except like it's the players' team. It's going to be the player.
Right.
It's Dak's team. It's Micah Parsons' team, and you add George Pickens. So whatever they want to do about establishing the run, come on, Javonte Williams, Miles Sanders, Jaden Blue. I mean, you can't be serious. They're not establishing the run. All right. It's going to be Dak Prescott's offense. And Dak Prescott can be one of those easy answers at quarterback that you just wait. He's like quarterback 11, 12. Could easily give you mid quarterback 1 production. And then, see CeeDee Lamb, can a league winner be someone you get at number 3 or number 4 that is the most valuable player in fantasy football? Because CeeDee Lamb could be that guy this year.
Oh, yeah.
If Dak throws 675 times, CD could break the season record for receptions. Remember, he was playing hurt last year. And with George Pickens 6th, 7th round, I'm interested. But doesn't that just open up more room for CeeDee Lamb? Doesn't that just make CeeDee Lamb's job even easier because you're not going to let George Pickens beat you over the top? But Dak Prescott, he is aggressive enough to take advantage of what Pickens can offer on those contested catches and those circus catches too. So this is all very exciting now when you start to add up those 2 pieces and what it can mean for this offense with an aggressive Dak Prescott. And for the Cowboys, just more of the same isn't necessarily a bad thing when you're turning control over to Dak Prescott.
Yeah, when Dak is just healthy, he's going to be out there and produce. Now, we're 2 players in, so don't think I'm crazy. Well, think I'm crazy, but don't think I'm necessarily crazy in this one, because Anthony Richardson is banged up. Daniel Jones is there to compete with him anyway when he's not banged up. You'll be shocked to know Anthony Richardson is hurt again. Is Daniel Jones deserving enough to be on this list? Now, this is bounce back players, potential league winners, but Daniel Jones can be a QB1, or as you've mentioned, a QB2 in Superflex League. So, a very delicate topic here. But is Daniel Jones on this list?
Well, will he truly be a league winner? Not necessarily, although at the very, very top end of range of outcomes, it's there. What's exciting, in so much as Daniel Jones could be exciting at this point of his career, what's exciting about Daniel Jones is, remember, he got his release during the season last year, which was something he probably asked for behind the scenes. I mean, in some ways, it's a show of respect to a player. And what did he do with that opportunity? He sought out Kevin O'Connell. And I remember reading reports that he was unlearning, that he was basically like formatting his hard drive and just being like, I'm going to teach me how to play quarterback. I want to understand how to play quarterback. And he is the kind of quarterback that can be like an extension of the coach, just control him with a joystick. In fact, that's probably the best way to deploy him, like Colin Kaepernick, right?
Yeah.
Chris Sims is another one that comes to mind. Just binary decisions, and then take off and run. And this Colts offense, Shane Steichen, they've shown the willingness. Now, you might say because Anthony Richardson got so banged up that the message they got was don't do this, but they've shown the willingness to have their quarterback run by design. And it's easy to forget that Daniel Jones, the year that he wrecked the Giants' future by getting them to sign him, et cetera, winning a playoff game over the Minnesota Vikings, that year he was like quarterback 10 because he had 700 rushing yards and 7 rushing touchdowns. He was pretty anemic as a passer, But when you look at what he has, because remember, he only got Malik Neighbors last year. That year, his number one receiver was Darius Slayton. He was throwing to Isaiah Hodgins and Richie James. I love Richie James, but if Richie James is one of the main guys you're throwing to, it's not a good place to be. Now he's throwing to Michael Pittman and Josh Downs and Adonai Mitchell, right? And Tyler Warren. Now he's got guys that are going to add value. And remember, Shane Steichen also is down with a vertical pass offense, taking shots downfield. And the one thing that worked when Jones was actually good for fantasy and good for NFL football was throwing deep to Darius Slayton. So Alec Pierce, hey, your frisbee catching dog, right? Just send him on a go route and let him go get it. This could actually be a lot better than people realize. A career year for Daniel Jones. And, Jim Irsay is somewhere, cease, watching excitedly to see what this next chapter will be because it's about redemption. Jim Irsay, rest in peace. I'm going to bring him up a lot during this year, cease, just because he's the classic maverick NFL owner and he was an NFL lifer. He was a ball boy. Like he wasn't nepotism, fail upward. He was the Colts organization, and so why not roll the dice and let Daniel Jones, who's looking for a new beginning, the Colts are looking for a new beginning at quarterback, basically, and add that to your team.
Add it to your team, everybody. DeAndre Swift. Now, there's been some recent news, and check out our Football Guys Newswire. Bob Harris, Sigmund Bloom, Cecil Lammy, Joe Bryant. Yes, I went third person, writing your news every day right to your inbox. You've got a life we don't. Sign up for our Football Guys free daily newsletter. There's been a bit of news about DeAndre Swift. Now, full disclosure, I love Eric Bieniemy. I wouldn't call him a friend. I'd just call him like a buddy. But being buddies with Eric Bieniemy is pretty cool, and understanding like who he is as a coach, who he's coached to even 2,000-yard seasons as a running backs coach. Now they're with Ben Johnson, and this is kind of an EB thing. It's kind of a DeAndre Swift thing, but it's mainly a Ben Johnson thing. So I'm really looking forward to chopping this one up with you, Sigmund, because you love Ben Johnson. And
Sure.
we're excited about this offense. Hey, someone's actually going to watch film with Caleb Williams. So if we're thinking about players that could bounce back, and the talent's always been there, it's never been a question with DeAndre Swift. The opportunity seems to be there, and perhaps way under the radar for what people are considering to help them out at the running back position.
Yeah, this is a good one, Cease. This is like your fantasy football homework for the next couple of months. Because you're a
Right.
detective. You're a detective. You're looking for clues, right? Because we should be optimistic here. This team went out and signed Joe Thuney. They signed Drew Dahlman. All right. They signed Jonah Jackson. They draft Ozzie Trapilo. And they draft Colston Loveland, rodeo guy. They draft Luther Burden. And as soon as Ben Johnson got hired, I think even though was DeAndre Swift good last year? I mean, for fantasy football on the basic numbers, he did return more than what he cost. And interestingly enough, he cost basically the same going into this year in what should be a better running game. And how was he valuable for fantasy football last year? He'd break off long runs. He still wasn't goal line back. That was Roschon Johnson. But he was still a running back two, like a boom bust running back two on breaking off long runs in this offense. And when Ben Johnson got hired, the conventional wisdom was like, oh, well, we know how that went, right? They ended up with David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs. That's how Ben Johnson felt about DeAndre Swift. And all offseason, we're like, oh, it's going to be Ashton Genty. Nope, he goes to the Raiders. Oh, well, there's any number of other backs they can take. Well, Travion Henderson. Oh, he went to the Patriots. They're going to take Burden. Well, with the third round, fourth round, fifth round, they end up taking Kyle Monangai in the seventh round. And there's DeAndre Swift still standing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, but hey, Nick Chubb is still out there. J.K. Dobbins is still out there. Poof, poof. There he is, still standing. Maybe Ben Johnson sees more in DeAndre Swift than people have been positing. But maybe it's a Roschon Johnson thing. Maybe it's Kyle Monangai, Matt Waldman favorite. He tells us that he's a very sound runner. And Ben Johnson's going to like that. Remember what Jamal Williams did for Ben Johnson, who's just a sound runner. What else does Jamal Williams offer except good decision-making and hard-nosed running? Kyle Monangai can do that. So you should be in on this Bears running game because it's like 8th round. Roschon Johnson's like 15th, round. Kyle Monaghan is like the end couch cushion change at the end of your draft. And what we need to see that's really fascinating here, and you mentioned Eric Bieniemy, and coaching's really important here, is, Drew Dahlman is coming from Atlanta, zone. Joe Thuney, he can do zone and gap. Jackson, who Ben Johnson knows from their time together in Detroit, he's gap, right? They get this guy, Ozzie Trapilo, this man mountain, who is experienced in gap, but he's athletic enough to be a zone monster, just an absolute monster. So are they going to install a running game with both concepts or focus on one or the other? Because give me DeAndre Swift in a gap scheme. Give me Roschon Johnson in a zone. And Kyle Monaghan, maybe can, again, straddle the line. So we're not sure what's going to happen here. It's going to produce some fruit for fantasy football, but you got to know where on the tree to look for it.
Fruit. Yes, that's right. It's going to be there, and we're going to be excited to see which one. And by the way, there's drum beats about Monaghan.
Yeah.
That Matt Waldman has been chronicling on Twitter. So let's move on to Kansas City. This one's easy because if he's healthy, well, maybe it's a little more complicated, right? And it's complicated because of Brashard Smith. You're going to talk about Jim Irsay a lot of shows. I'm going to talk about Brashard Smith on a lot of shows because damn it, NFL, y'all dumb. Letting Brashard Smith go to the Chiefs. Y'all dumb. And then, of course, Kareem Hunt there with Isaiah Pacheco. So let's talk about Pacheco. He's feeling great. And what was Pacheco's quote like? I'm just going to get back to the guy who runs over people. All right, which means he's going to play 8 games. But either way, in those 8 games, he could be part of the recipe. And remember, getting a bounce back player to get you your championship doesn't mean he's playing in your championship. It just means he helps get you there.
Yeah.
Pacheco on that journey. I know he's on my team, Bloom.
Yeah, and when you say bounce back, what we're talking about is a player that the fantasy football conventional wisdom via ADP is showing us they're skeptical about, and they're maybe being too skeptical or overreacting to last year. Because Pacheco goes into the season as the clear lead back. Look at the snap share, look at the situational football. He goes into the season as the clear lead back for the Chiefs, busts up his ankle, gets like the tightrope procedure, otherwise gets a procedure to come back during the season, doesn't look like himself. And that's how we go into the offseason. He was a 3rd, 4th round pick last year. This year, he's more like a 6th round pick, a pretty big discount. And if you think he lost something from that ankle injury and then getting back on the field quickly, that he'll never get back, then that makes sense. I guess if you think we've learned he's injury prone, that makes sense. But otherwise, what did they do? See, Elijah Mitchell, injury prone. I mean, geez, Elijah Mitchell is the guy they assigned Elijah Mitchell to bolster their backfield. Well, you shouldn't project many games with Elijah Mitchell. And again, we're talking about rookies. This ends up being a secret rookie running back show. We just end up talking about rookie running backs. But you're right about Brashard Smith. And they've said there's a role for Brashard Smith. How big it is up to him. And remember, he's a former receiver. He can contribute on special teams. He's going to make the team. He's going to make the team because of the speed he adds to the special teams units. And then after that, if Pacheco gets hurt, and Kareem Hunt, we know, is a placeholder at this point. He can execute the plays in the offense, but he doesn't add anything. So right, it's either you're in on Pacheco in the 6th, 7th round, or you better be loading up on Brashard Smith in the late rounds. That's what we're looking at for the outlook for this Kansas City backfield.
Yep, that's what we're looking out for there. And the next player that we have to discuss, Sigmund, is very, very interesting because as you look into this, who can bounce back? And, again, a lot of guys that are banged up, whatever. And I was like, well, Chris Olave in the talent is on this list. Now, who in the world? Tyler Shuck, right. Spencer Rattler, like who in the world would be throwing on the ball? And maybe this is a philosophical question. By the way, Charles Bukowski wrote a comic book. I'll tell you about it off air. I didn't know about it. I'm checking it out on eBay right now. Anyway, let's get philosophical because can a wide receiver produce and bounce back when bad quarterbacks are throwing to him?
And we're looking at, again, the hive mind, the ADP, because Chris Olave has lived in the 2nd, 3rd round, much like Garrett Wilson, college teammates. This idea that eventually the talent is going to win out. The numbers eventually are going to reflect the talent. We know the talent's there, but the situation hasn't brought the numbers up to match the talent. It's going to happen one of these years. And this year, finally, the fantasy football community says 5th, 6th round, Olave. And he had some scary concussions last year. and otherwise was just, see, so it reminds me of Andrew Luck's early years where the player's courageous, but we're watching the player and just to shoot your way out mentality, or like Chris Olave is taking so much punishment for a team that's going nowhere, and really like with these quarterbacks, hospital balls, etc., and the only real focus on the passing game that they have to worry about downfield if you're the defense. So you have two factors working against him now. You have Tyler Shuck, Spencer Rattler, and then they're saying, "Oh, Spencer Rattler is improved." I mean, okay, whatever. Tyler Shuck, we'll see. Tyler Shuck's going to be fascinating to see because it's like, should everybody get a 7th-year senior year? Who knows what quarterbacks we've overlooked because we didn't give them 7 years to develop. I mean,
He
Tyler
threw
Shuck,
to Juwan Johnson in
right,
college at
right,
Oregon.
right. Yes, Lord. So we'll see, though. It's a fascinating proposition because, I mean, we shouldn't just dismiss it that, hey, maybe if Tyler Shuck actually is okay, maybe there's like some switches that need to be flipped in college. And if you just have a player playing quarterback long enough, then and those switches get flipped, then it actually takes. And maybe we look at quarterback development totally differently. But chances are this is like a disaster. Now, is it enough a disaster that a second, third round talent should still be passed on in the 5th, 6th round? I don't know, man. We've been playing fantasy for a long time, Cease, and just betting on talent generally works out. And because when it works out, it really works out. And Chris Olave in the 5th, 6th round, that still sounds pretty good.
Let's wrap up today's show, and it is a Broncos show always because Evan Ingram is player bounced back, poised to bounce back. That's for sure. Now, of course, with the Denver Broncos, and what's interesting to note is Sean Payton loves him and will want to prove how right he is about everything all the time. Take note with J.K. Dobbins, and I believe Dobbins is there to lead the backfield because RJ Harvey cannot yet be trusted in pass protection. Harvey's going to catch 50 to 60 passes and, have 125, 150 carries. Dobbins, in a Mark Ingram way, if he's healthy, and again, I think he plays about 10 games. So if Dobbins is healthy, he'll be the lead back for the Broncos in terms of carrying the ball. And he might himself, if RJ Harvey catches 50, 60 passes, J.K. Dobbins might catch 40, maybe 50 himself, and also get 200 carries again if his body doesn't betray him. You got Bo Lowry, King Dingling there with the Broncos and the health and training staff to help out there. But I want to talk about Evan Ingram because it's the Joker. It's the Joker. It's the Joker. Yeah, we get it. We get it, Sean. He's got his Joker now. And I'm not saying Jimmy Graham numbers, but if you project him for about 69 catches, about 700 yards, and then the touchdowns will vary depending on how much Nate Atkins is used as like a sneaky play down by the red zone. The red zone numbers for Bo Nix were incredible last year, like league leading incredible red zone numbers. And now Evan Ingram's there. And to pull the curtain back at OTAs, Ingram doesn't do drills with the tight ends. He does drills with the wide receivers.
Yeah, he's a potential answer if you're not taking a tight end in the top 3 or 4 and somebody who could get you into the top 6 or 8. Absolutely, after the money they spent on him. And what's going to be fascinating here, Cease, is based on what we're describing for the Denver offense. It's a Denver show, everybody. This is going to be kind of like an amorphous offense, right? I mean, they can hit you with speed with Mims and Franklin, right? You've got size outside. We should talk about Devon Vele, by the way. Talk about a drum beat. That's timpani drums right now.
Yeah, missed mandatory minicamp, but was the talk of OTAs.
Really?
If he's truly learned how to run routes,
look out.
Truly, and he had something personal thing going on for mandatory, but if he truly learned how to run routes, look out. And they're dragging their feet on the Sutton thing. I'll tell you more off air, but yeah, it's weird, man. It's weird.
Yeah, but some of that could be as they see Vele developing. There's a Vele take here too. Like Tim Patrick, if he can stay healthy, right? I mean, basically,
yeah.
Tim Patrick is a good football player. I hope he gets a ring this year. Look, so Denver, and it all comes back to Sean Payton, and I think you're right to say this isn't on the couch, but this is also an on the couch episode. It's a Denver show. We're getting into the head of Sean Payton, and Sean Payton really does play it like it's a video game, and he's holding the joystick straight down to his quarterback, Bo Nix, his handpicked guy, his mini me. And you could see that if Sean Payton is scheming stuff up to say this is going to be where we use Evan Ingram a lot in the 5 to 10 yard range, then Bo Nix is going to faithfully execute it as the first read and faithfully make his coach look smart, because that's part of the reason that Sean Payton was so into him in the first place. Personality, that's the thing I think that people don't understand about when a coach picks a quarterback. And we're looking at the tape, so we're looking at skills and traits and things. A coach like Sean Payton is like looking into your soul, basically. Like, are we going to do this journey together? And Bo Nix, the backpack, it's all about the backpack. Oh wow, that's like the backpack I had when I was your age. Mm-hmm. So for fantasy, it could be very vexing. It could be like, I think it's going to be a classic Cecil Lammey Windows, where there's going to be times or matchups where like certain things are really working, and Bo Nix it's just that kind of quarterback that can be very flexible and malleable week to week with all of these different things. Like you said, you add J.K. Dobbins to this backfield now. I think Matt Waldman said Ingram Sproles. And I know that we get stuck in these ruts comparing like to past offenses and past roles. But like you said at the top, it's Sean Payton. That's not lazy analysis. It's Sean Payton, and it makes sense. Ingram Sproles, it makes sense. Like you said, knock on wood, he can stay healthy. And here we are. I think the bottom line is we're now getting to cruising altitude with Sean Payton. He's instituted his offense and he's got his players. And this is just going to be fun.
It's going to be fun to watch, and we will watch it with great interest with you. You are watching us with great interest, helping us grow our YouTube channel, and we certainly appreciate you all for that. Thank you so much for checking out all of our Football Guys YouTube channels. We've got you set up with multiple opinions, multiple shows, and quality product that you expect from footballguys.com. Again, sign up for our free daily newsletter. Check out our site. It is footballguys.com. You want to support the show? We don't do any silly super chats. We just ask you, hey, sign up for a free newsletter and then sign up for Football Guys if you'd like. We appreciate your business. We appreciate your friendship. As always, make sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. And we appreciate you. Follow Sigmund Bloom on the socials at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show's at the Audible saying thanks for watching. Stay tuned. And would you please stay frosty.